Hi, I'm Alvin Graylan, CEO for Minful. Thanks for taking time to look at our case. I had initiated the idea in the US and had been living in the US at the time. So the most natural thing for me to do in terms of gathering the funding was to go to places and people that I already knew. So I got most of my initial angel funding from people that were in the Seattle area, from the tech industry, tech and telecom industry. So was able to convince 4 or 5 folks that were former Macaw and AT&T Wireless and Microsoft type of folks to put in a few dollars, about $1 million for our initial seed funding. So that was how we got the project off the ground. But I think selling the whole concept of the growth of China and telecom in China was a big part of why we were able to raise the funding. This actually was a fairly natural piece of how the company grew. When I went back in late 2005 to look for a venture, I was able to regroup with my co-founder, Derek, who I had worked with back in Intel in 1994, 95 through 97. And so we had already some history together and have been in touch with each other over 10, 12 years that we have been living in different countries. And he had already a small team that he had been working with, technical team, that helped to get the technology side started. In terms of growing the business team, when I moved back, we got a small shared office with his prior company. They were able to lend us a room in their office, and we started there. Was able to recruit the sales director and the BD folks, as well as an assistant. So we started, I think, with 6 people essentially. So 2 engineers, my co-founder, the CTO, the sales director, and a BD manager. So and then an administrator or an office admin. So that was how we got the project started. And then after that, we moved over to a real office about 3 months later, where we significantly grew the staff to about 25 people, and kind of the rest was fairly natural after that. So our first customers were actually small, medium businesses. It was, we had started as a mobile search company. So, it made sense to initially start with local businesses for doing our advertising sales. We had our sales manager actually just go around to all of the local businesses in Shanghai and kind of one by one go and ask them if they're interested in doing search advertising on our platform. So it was a little bit difficult actually initially because we didn't have any brand recognition or a significant user base. But we were able to convince a few small businesses to believe in us, and we kind of grouped together some push-based and other mobile-based solutions or promotions together with the search keyword sales as our initial customer. But probably our biggest customer to date are the carriers. So we work with China Telecom, China Mobile, as well as China Unicom in a smaller way. So probably our biggest customer right now is China Telecom, which we have a very deep relationship with, and that account took us probably over about a year to get, and requiring working with essentially every level from the CEO of China Telecom to the regional heads, to the divisional heads, and having essentially matched personnel at each level, from the manager level to staff level, selling into the account to win that account. So it was a significant effort, and it also probably what helped us win the deal at the end was the fact that we had won the Beijing Olympics search platform back in 2008. And at the end of 2008, because of that win, China Telecom, I think, had a sense of security in terms of working with a smaller company like us in delivering their solution. So, and then recently we've done very well for them and have won their 2010 second best project of the year. So it was very big honor for us, and we've been very happy with that cooperation. When we started in 2005, there was really very little mobile internet or mobile app or mobile, significant mobile search capabilities in China. So we had focused initially on an SMS-based solution because SMS was very, very popular in China, over 95% adoption even back in 2005, whereas SMS didn't really take off in the US until probably 2007, 2008, when American Idol really helped to make that popular. But mobile internet was relatively, I guess there was more users in the Western markets than there were in the China market at the time. So that was a very, I guess, different part of the search solution. So we actually focused on doing natural language mobile search through SMS initially, and later on broadened out into mobile internet, mobile apps, mobile instant messenger, and so forth. And then last couple of years we've really put a lot of our efforts and time into mobile advertising campaigns. So I think now it's probably a little bit more similar in terms of mobile apps and mobile marketing campaigns being a big part of the advertising mix, whereas a few years ago it really hasn't been the case. So the markets are becoming more alike, mostly because of the emergence of smartphones and the iPhone and rich media on mobile. But the spending amounts are still quite different. So pretty much for an average campaign in the US, you're talking about several $100,000 US, whereas in China you're talking about a couple $100,000 RMB, which is about almost an order of magnitude difference. But we're doing essentially almost the same amount of work. So it's a little bit more difficult to make significant profits in dollars in China for that same type of business. Probably another part that's a little bit different is the selling model for the search itself. We do a lot of our search advertising through resellers, small resellers in each city that are 30, 40 people, and they go do direct sales to the clients. Whereas in the US, most of the search is actually being done self-service, with users going directly to places like Google and buying it from their website. So the revenue model and the selling model is actually also quite different for search between US and China. Last question was being a Mandarin-speaking Chinese, but also an American trained at the best universities, and having worked at Intel, obviously gave you a leg up on entrepreneurs with only one of these strengths. Can you give me a business situation that you dealt with recently where you said to yourself, I would not have survived that one without both backgrounds working for me? I think it happens to me quite often because dealing with both Chinese large government enterprises as well as government entities as well as multinational firms, having both a Western and Eastern background is significantly helpful for me in terms of being able to communicate naturally with them and being able to create rapport with both the staff level and the management level at our partners, as well as within our own firms. So actually on a daily basis, I require those kind of backgrounds. I mean, I need to be a natural language speaker to talk to our staff and communicate with them on a daily basis. Most of them can read and write English, but their speaking and listening capabilities are just not proficient. So I really have to communicate with them verbally through Chinese. And speaking with some of the agencies that we work with, as well as the major brands, many of their decision makers are expats or Western educated returnees, which for us to create rapport and understanding requires to speak English and to be able to communicate that with them very naturally. And speaking with the government and the carriers, of course, having Chinese language skills and cultural background is very, very helpful. And having the credential of coming from a prestigious university certainly doesn't hurt, and it gives a certain level of credibility that would take a lot more effort to gain otherwise. So there's I think on a daily basis benefits of having that mixed culture and the educational background, particularly in China, where educational credentials are much more, I guess, respected and sought after than in Western markets.